Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
So this week we get the full song. Last week we got the abbreviated version, but we have the abbreviated version of the show. Just old time's sake, Shawn and I back like old times last year. And our part-timer, Jared, he's off chasing some bourbons at a New Year's party again. Huh?
Well, I guess that's what's getting in his way of making good bets now, right? The bourbon.
I don't drink bourbon. I don't drink anything, and it's not working for me either lately.
Ever since he went on vacation, right? And he came back, and I don't know.
He got married, and all of a sudden he can't put the bourbon away.
Yeah, you knew a lot of things would change after he got married. We didn't know that bets would just go south, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I might have gone south too, and I didn't get married. I don't drink no bourbon, so I don't know what the story is there with me. Just one bad beat after the next. 4 of my last 6 losses came in the last 20 seconds of a game, and I think half of them came on the last play of the game. And then last week, looked like the Eagles were going to cover, but of course, Miles Sanders got a fumble at the 10-yard line, and I don't know what the Raiders are doing. They shut down the Steelers' defense, the offense, the whole game, and then the last drive, let's just let everybody run wide open and see what happens.
Yeah, when you're on streaks like that, the streaks you're on, it's horrible. You need quite a few to make up for it, and hopefully the ball starts bouncing your way.
It has no choice but to start bouncing my way. Yeah. I'm going to start reaching for the bourbon too. Where is it? Yeah. Damn it! I need a drink.
Hey, I've been on a roll with the bowls, and today things have started going south, kind of like you. So, just you hit good luck, and then bad luck comes, and when you're on bad luck, you have nothing but to go up now. So,
well, God willing, from your mouth to God's ear, as they say. But, I've taken more bad beats in the last 2 weeks than I know what to do with. It just drives me bananas. I don't mind losing. If I pick a team and they're getting blown out 41-0, I'm like, all right, I just got that wrong. But when you're right 59 minutes and 30 seconds out of the game, and you're only wrong in that last 30 seconds, and you just want to poke your eye out with a pen.
Yeah, and the worst is usually when there's and it's happened to me today with Pittsburgh UCLA, when there's one scenario that can burn you, and that one scenario is exactly what happened.
It's just I hate it. But anyway, let's take a look at last week. Jared, if he hadn't done 4 units, might have done all right, because I think he actually won more games than he lost. But he lost all of his 4-unit games, and he's probably right now telling himself, "I'll never do that again." Down $428 for the week. Red seems to be his favorite color of late. I can't say that I disagree with him, because it's been my favorite color of late too. Shawn, continuing his winning ways. He actually went, 5-1, Shawn? That's a great week.
Yeah, what's crazy about that is I went 1 unit with all those W's, and my 2 unit is the L. I hate when that happens.
Oh, I'll take the 5-1 week, even if I have 2.
Well, I know, but you have one out of my odds were 5 of 6 that I would have got the 2 unit one right there, and that's the one I get wrong.
I don't know about that, but I would still take 5-1 any week and up 255 out of your bets. It's just I haven't had a week like that. I had one good week all year long, and then I just kind of sputtered back and forth all year around break even. You guys have been a little bit more wild swings, you and Jared.
Yeah.
But I've been just in one direction the last 3 weeks, and unfortunately, that is red. Maybe I should stop making fun of Jared, but lost that Raiders game at the end. The Seahawks and the Chiefs were never close. Falcons and the Ravens, even in this game, did both teams get to the 3-yard line 7 times and all came away with field goals and turnovers? The Lions and the Panthers, yes, I can't even spell. The Lions and the Panthers, that game was not even close in terms of the total. That I was happy about. I felt like I was going to be off to a good week, especially since I had the Bills early on and that Eagles game again. Miles Sanders, what are you doing, dude? Hang on to the ball. You're costing me money, bro.
Yeah, backup quarterback and everything, and they almost won, and they really probably should have. They should have won the game, like you said. So,
well, they were at they had 1st and goal from the 8-yard line, 4 plays at the end. They couldn't convert anything. So, just one, it just goes in those things, right? NFL is the new NBA. It's just crazy. Go Kentucky against Iowa. All right, go Kentucky.
Speaking of a low-scoring game, I think the over/under in that game's 31.
So that's going to be one of those games that you just can't wait to watch?
Yeah, it's going to be a 10-7 game.
You have to be from Kentucky, I suppose, then, if you're watching that game, right? Lake Charles. Hey,
Yeah.
speaking of which, I don't know if you saw earlier today, Charles and I will get together tomorrow for Gulfstream Park at 11:30 a.m. But he's chiming in with some funky, comments, making fun of me. And then I looked because I thought, this guy, he's acting like the Muppets in the movie. Those two old men up there that are in the Muppets complaining.
Yeah.
He looks just like one of them, like Stetler.
Oh, yeah?
Look it up. Exactly. I'll look it up as we're talking, and I'll bring it back up. But when I saw it, and I put it up, even Charles said, "You have me in tears crying." So it was all right. So year-to-date totals. Oh, I got this screen is a little bit too big, but Shawn right now is in a commanding lead. He's up $603. Jared's down 117, and I'm in the red for the first time in 13 weeks. So.
Yeah.
Like I said, all those bad beats are taking a beating on me, and down 3 weeks in a row, 4 out of the last 5. Not the way I like to do things, but the way things are. So hopefully I'm due for a little bit of green. I guess I'm like the stock market at the end of the year, just crashing.
Yeah, and I feel like this happened to me last year too, maybe not on our bets, but personally, where I started figuring out what teams were doing well at the right time, and then I finally get hot at the end of the year, and then the football season ends as I try to make up my money from the beginning of the year.
Well, I mean, you had a couple.
So far,
I
mean,
you're the exact opposite of me. You've had 3 very strong weeks in the last 4, so you got to. This is a point to get either press your bets or get cautious. One of the two.
Yeah, well, and you start realizing, and the important thing here with the last 2 weeks is you got to know teams' intentions, who really needs the games, who don't need the games. But at the same time, you're not just going to play. There's teams that will play the spoiler role and are okay with that, and there's other teams that just want the season to end. So, and then there's teams like last night with the Titans. They had no intentions of really winning the game. They were just finding out what they had for next week, since that game meant absolutely nothing for them.
Well, the Cowboys looked like they had intentions of losing that game for the first half anyway. But I think Shawn has crashed out on us, and he shall return before too long. We had a little conversation before the show started, too, that one of us had a little problems with the internet, and we thought it was Shawn, but we can never tell with just 2 of us, so it is just me. All right, so we'll get off to the next page here, and hopefully Shawn will return in just a moment. We start to get to our picks for week number 17. One thing, it's in the bottom of the in the description below on YouTube and on Facebook and Twitter. There is a link to this Google Sheets. It's available to everybody, which does include all of the picks, and this is all the analysis according to the algorithms that I use so far to lose $19 on the year. Hopefully that will change. Shawn should be back in a moment, I suppose. So in the meantime, why don't you make sure you hit the subscribe button while you're on YouTube, hit the like button, as well as follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and all the below on the ticker. Make sure you check that out. So let's go ahead off to, I guess, solo week 17. I'll start off with Jared's picks here. He is going to go with the Eagles and the Saints. All right, Shawn has returned. There he is. All right, Shawn, so kind of ran through where we're at. We're going to start off with Jared. We're going to go with the Eagles and the Saints. He's going to take the Eagles. He's going to lay the 5.5 points for 2 units. This is a game both teams really still need to win, right? Because for New Orleans to stay in the hunt and have a chance, they have to win and hope that Tampa Bay loses. And on the other side, the Eagles, they don't want to come down to a Week 18 game where it's either you win or if you lose and the Cowboys win, now suddenly you're a wild card team.
Yeah, I've looked at this. I feel like the line's set just right because I couldn't decide on either team. It doesn't look like Hurts playing, so Minshew's playing. Minshew looked pretty good last week. I mean, for the first time starting, he looked okay. Saints are starting to play better and starting to put it together, though, so I couldn't jump either way on here. And, again, I agree with you. The Eagles don't want it to come down to the last week, but this would scare me if I'm an Eagles fan with the Saints the way they're playing right now and with the quarterback situation.
And we talked about it last week, man. When you have your foot on the throat, man, you have to go for the proverbial kill.
And I think they did last week. They just came up short and made a few mistakes.
Boneheaded play at the end. Thank you, Miles Sanders. I have the over in this game, Shawn, 41.5. I thought, this New Orleans defense is kind of stingy. but then I look to see that they're giving up 20.5 points a game. The Eagles are giving up over 20 points a game too. So I feel like the Eagles will get their points. I feel like New Orleans will get their points. The weather forecast not all that crazy out in your neck of the woods. In fact, I think it's actually supposed to warm up
really
a little bit.
Nice, yeah.
So I think there's going to be points in this game. I think both teams are going to come out. Both teams are going to score. And if they can get over 41.5, maybe I could start to get back in the green. So this might be one you want to fade the way I'm going. They'll probably score the score will be like 9-3 at the end of the third quarter.
Well, the good thing that you got going for you is even with Minshew, they are very aggressive. I mean, Minshew's aggressive as a quarterback, so it's what you say. He'll either put it for the Eagles or he'll turn the ball over a few times and give the Saints some points. So
I guess Shawn's looking at the Giants and the Colts and saying, "Did you see that Colts team last week?"
Well, did you see Nick Foles last week? I mean, oh my good. One thing I kept thinking last week is how good of a coach is Doug Peterson with the quarterbacks to make Nick Foles a Super Bowl quarterback.
The thing was he played well with the Eagles before Peterson was there. There's just maybe something about the Eagles.
Yeah, and also look at what Peterson's doing with Lawrence now too. I mean, it took Lawrence a little bit, but now he's coming in. So all I could think of is how good is Doug Peterson to make some of these quarterbacks look like they are, because that was horrible. And, I had to check before I made this pick. Are the Colts really going to go with Nick Foles again? I mean, I don't understand what's even the point. They have Ellinger yet. They have a young quarterback. Why not leave him in there? If you're going to throw 3 interceptions and everything else, why not give him a shot? I'm not sure.
3 interceptions and 3 yards wide of your closest target.
Yeah, and I mean, Jeff Saturday keeps pressing the wrong buttons too as a head coach. So, head coach that's not making the right decisions, a quarterback that looked absolutely awful last week, and a Giants team that continues to play well.
Or maybe a team that's interested in a very high draft choice so they can finally get rid of the Andrew Luck curse.
I guess.
So maybe they're not even really interested in winning. Because to me, I know you didn't agree with me, but when they were beating the Vikings 33-0, and then they lost that game in the second half, the biggest comeback in the history of the NFL. If it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, acts like a duck, it's a duck, man. And that game just looked really, really fishy to me, because it's freaking hard to lose a game where you're winning 33-0.
Yeah, but then if you had intentions of that, you never get up 33-0. So that's where I was like, we would have never got up 33-0, and then done that. So
it could be just an accident. I don't know, because it's tough to blow a 33-0 lead. In fact, it's been what they did was never done before.
I know only a few people. We're not in the thousands of people yet, but put me on camera on saying this. All NBA teams too. We've had 12-point blown leads with 2 minutes left, a 9-point lead with 30 seconds left. If I'm the coach of any of these teams, none of those teams lose that. That's coaching.
But the NBA is a little bit different, because you got the shot clock, you got possessions, you got 3-pointers. You can score on every possession. You can't necessarily score on every possession in football.
Well, okay, and then Arkansas is up 15 with 3 minutes left, and Kansas comes back and ties the game. Like, these are I know coaches can only do so much.
There was also a boneheaded play by the kid from Arkansas. None of the guys on the onside kick went for the ball. They all went to block, and nobody bothered to get the ball.
But also, the fumble that started all that, it was like a reverse or something, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. Why are you calling a reverse when you're up like that? Like, these coaches, I don't know what you're doing.
Maybe they don't know what they're doing either. Shawn. They're hanging out with Jared.
That's what I'm saying. Give me a job to maintain a lead, to do the game management. I will do it for you. You're not going to lose those games. The Giants here, though, I think cover. They've been playing good, despite all their doubters and stuff. I still don't think they go very far in the playoffs, but they win this game. They're in the playoffs, and I think they do it.
And I think beat Terry's Giants, and Terry 49ers. Terry will be in tears. And in this game, Jared taking his hometown team and the Colts not to score a whole lot of points. I don't know if he thinks it's going to be the Colts that don't score because of the quarterback play, or if he just thinks both teams are going to stink it up, and because neither one really has a lot of offense. I mean, the one thing is that the Colts do tend to keep game. This is the thing, too, that was kind of interesting to me in that game, is the Colts do have a decent defense. They're not totally horrible, and yet they gave up 40 points to the Vikings, or whatever it was, in the second half. In any case, Colts and the Giants going under in that game. Shawn, you agree, disagree?
My issue here is if Foles is going to throw the ball to the Giants a few times, that could be a problem. So hopefully in his case, the Giants just get up and pound Barkley and end the game and get to the playoffs. And, it's a 24-10 game.
For him, yes, indeed. Broncos and the Chiefs. I thought that the game last week with the Chiefs and Seahawks would have more scoring, but every time Seattle got the ball into the Kansas City side of the field, they'd come to like 4th and 2 or 3, and they didn't convert a whole bunch of them, so they left a bunch of points on the field. Pete Carroll being very aggressive, and unfortunately for Pete Carroll and myself, none of that aggressiveness paid off. That game went under this week. It looks like Jared believes the Broncos and the Chiefs, the Broncos now with a team with a new coach, maybe a new identity, a little bit of motivation to play in the last couple days here, or what?
Possibly. I don't know what to expect.
Well, maybe they could give up 51 again, and then they only have to account for 10.
Yeah. And, the thing with Kansas City, too, is they're winning, they're playing good, but they're not playing that great Kansas City ball right now, especially offensively. So, yeah, I feel like that number's kind of where it should be, and I wouldn't touch it.
Well, the way the Broncos give up points, 44.5 might not be that much. The Chiefs could have 44 at halftime. I mean, if Baker Mayfield can find 51, what is Mahomes going to find?
Yeah, really.
How happy is that guy, though? I mean, you got to think about he's really put himself now in a position where, a couple of weeks ago, after he got released, you're probably thinking, this cat's probably done in the NFL. Maybe, back up for life. I think that he's gotten some life in that offense over there. And if I were his agent, I'd be telling him to stay because, I'm not so sure that Matthew Stafford can make it a whole year.
Yeah, and I'm sure, he definitely has to love what he's doing right here. And I'm sure they'll take him as a backup. So, hey, that's what you find in these last weeks is some people, they find jobs that way. And he seems to have done that. And, it's funny. We talked about NFL and NBA. That game was on Christmas. It wasn't really a good game. Even before the game, it wasn't going to be a good game. We had the blowout. I saw the ratings for it. It was like 18 to 20 million people that watched that. The NBA game that was on at a time, about 4 million people watched that. So even a blowout like that, the NFL, 5 times as much as the NBA.
Yeah, well, the NBA it's boring. Everyone just shoots threes. They're horrible, and then most of them miss. It's terrible. It's like everybody, it's like when you go to the gym and everybody thinks they're Steph Curry. Boom, 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 and anyway. Panthers and Buccaneers. I don't think through the first 17 weeks I've seen this, Shawn.
This is – I don't know what to – I'm glad this is the first time. I don't know what to make of this.
You ever seen the movie The Ghostbusters?
No.
And so in the movie The Ghostbusters, they all have these guns, right? And they shoot like rays. It's, I don't know, it's kind of like some offshoot of the lightsabers and it kills the monsters. But one of the things they're never supposed to do is cross the beams because it could potentially end the world. Well, we're crossing the beams here, man, with the Panthers and the Buccaneers. I'm almost inclined to take the Buccaneers just to be on the other side of this so that, I have probably a better chance of winning. But, oh, my Lord, all 3 of us come away with the Panthers. I really reluctantly typed this in there because I'm the last one to put them in.
Yeah, you got sent the picks and went, uh-oh.
Yeah, I was like, you got to be kidding me.
So do you think this says more about the Panthers or more about the Bucs?
I just think that both teams are limited in what they're doing on offense. They just played not too long ago. The Panthers won that game. I do think the Buccaneers win this game, but they just really fight to put points up on the board. Here's what I see happening. The Buccaneers will be losing by 10 with 2 minutes to go and somehow pull this game.
Yeah, that would be, even now Brady at 46, that's, that seems to be the thing.
Wasn't that 2 games this year that they were down 10?
Yeah.
They were down 2 scores and came back to win in 2 minutes.
If they don't win those games, they're not even they're playing like the Saints right now, where they're just winning to have a 5% chance, really.
Yeah, Brady is in the booth next year for sure. If not, I just think it's going to be a very tight game. Both teams are going to struggle to score points, and at the end, a field goal probably settles this one way or the other. And I think that field goal will go Tampa Bay's way.
And, we talked about Mayfield. How about Darnold, too? I mean, he's not setting the world on fire, but he's definitely doing better than he was with the Panthers.
Yeah, maybe Mayfield's not the kind of guy to manage games, right? Because the one thing I think about McVay out in out in Los Angeles. I think he's a pedal to the metal kind of offensive coach. And I don't think he's really the kind of guy that tries to manage games. I think he's the kind of guy that tries to manufacture points and wants to be aggressive on offense. And I feel like Baker Mayfield in Cleveland, at least recently, and in Carolina, was asked to manage the game and not try to go out and be aggressive. And I don't think that fits his personality. And now they're in aggressive mode, and he's in aggressive mode without Cooper Kupp. And they're having some success. So maybe he just found the system that works for him.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Now that the Panthers are having success, Matt Rule just did not work out as an NFL coach. They got rid of him, and now the Panthers are playing better. So who knows how much of that has to do with it too.
Yeah, it could be, indeed. Dolphins and the Patriots. So Jared's going to go with the Patriots. In the Dolphins, who are now fighting for their playoff lives, they have to win to stay in. They're going to be without Tua. I see online they call him Tua Turn It Over. Did you see that?
No, I did not see that, but that's pretty good.
That is pretty good. I like that. And you got to think with all those weapons, man. You know, they got rid of Brian Flores, who I think was more successful than the current coaches with less talent. Now they have more talent. Are they going to get rid of this guy too and maybe bring in a guy like Sean Payton?
No, I don't think so. I think this coach they like, and he'll be fine. They just had a lot with Tua and these injuries and these concussions. I mean, now they're going to be investigated again.
Team too.
Yeah, you know, it's funny you brought up Tua because his brother played at Maryland today, and he threw 2 interceptions. They ended up winning, but I guess he's coming out for the NFL next year too, most likely. He didn't make that decision yet, but I think he needs another year in college as well. This game, though, I don't know. Dolphins are not the same team without Tua, with Teddy Bridgewater, but New England's struggling too. So this could
they're on the wrong side. They're making uncharacteristic mistakes for a Bill Belichick coach team.
Yeah, and
like 2 weeks in a row that they should have probably won games that they ended up. They're kind of like me. They're getting bad beat. I mean, Ramondre Stevenson fumbling. I mean, they're going to win that game, and then the kid fumbles the ball, right? So then Shawn's on the good side of that one. And then same thing with the Raiders game. You're on the good side of that one too with the out of bounds call. So yeah, the Patriots have just not been on good luck. So I would think if there's going to be any ball bouncing their way, or maybe this is just retribution for deflating the ball all those years.
And the Patriots, I mean, if they win this and they win the last game against the Bills, they're in too. So amazing all what has happened to them. They're in. As a Jets fan, I hope the Dolphins win because then the Jets can win out and they're in. So this is a big game for a lot of
wishful thinking, Homer.
Yeah. I didn't know where to go here.
Yeah, neither did I. Neither team really is, generates much inspiration at this time. 49ers and the Raiders, our man Jared, going to back that Raiders team the 49ers team going into a team that's also in disarray, it looks like, with their coaching and with their personnel. They decided, you know what, this is Derek Carr's fault. So we're going to bench you. We're going to put Jared Stidham in. And then Carr says, you know what, I don't like that idea. I'm going to get the hell out of here. So he's going to be your New York Jets quarterback. That's my prediction right now. No. So the way I understand this is if Carr gets hurt, his contract's guaranteed or whatever. There's an option. So basically the Raiders, by doing this, they're saying they're going to cut him at the end of the year here. They'll cut him. Don't have to worry about it. If he got hurt, then they would owe him some money. So they decided they're out of the playoffs pretty much, that they're done. So the 49ers -9 looks juicy. I would probably, if you're going to tell me I have to pick one, I'm going to go with the 49ers -9. But kind of like these bowl games, it sounds too good to be true. And a lot of times, the Raiders are still going to play to win the game. They're just going to have a different quarterback. So I would go 49ers, but reluctantly, just because it seems too good to be true that you're just going to take the 49ers. Have clearly been two different teams, one on the road and one at home. We'll see if that trend continues with the now Mr. Universe quarterback, Brock Purdy. He's pretty good, as someone texted me. I think it was Jared with that pun. Thank you, Jared. Great. Wonderful thinking there. For me, I think the 49ers probably win that game. You got a team that's it looks to me, Devontae Adams in the locker room, clearly not happy. The the fact that they did what they did to Derek Carr, because he said that's the entire reason he went, to go back with his college teammate. So I think there's probably a little bit of unhappiness in that locker room. If they're going to treat Derek Carr that way, how are they going to treat me? And I'm just not sure you're going to see a motivated Raiders team here. I think one of two things are going to happen here. The Raiders are going to show up and they're going to upset the 49ers because they want to win out of spite, like in those major league movies. Or I think the more likely scenarios, the Raiders are going to say, if management's giving up on us, we're going to give up on you, and they're going to get absolutely demolished.
Yeah, and that's the more likely. It scares me because it's right like the bowl games. Oh, we have all these opt-outs. You know, you're going to give this team 10. Vegas is going to give this team 10 points, and then you turn the game on, and it's a last-second field goal because you still got players out there, and they're going to try. So 9 points is just what scares me. You know, Raiders are at home. And I'm sure that fan base, you know, what's crazy with us fans is that fan base will still be motivated and want to win and still be cheering their team on.
You would think, indeed.
Yeah.
Jets into Seahawks. Here's Shawn's wishful thinking shining through.
No, Mike White's coming back. Talk about motivated. A lot of those receivers, we've seen it with Wilson in there and putting their head down, everything else. They play for Mike White. This is the same as some other quarterbacks that I've said. Seattle's going the wrong way. Although I will say this is a lot of motivation for Seattle because you got Geno Smith who played for the Jets. You got Pete Carroll who coached for the Jets. So there's a lot of war awards there. I just see the Jets winning this game, and they should do it rather easily. Jets got the better defense. With Mike White, they got the better offense in Seattle right now. Actually, this line shocks me that it's only -1.5 and it's not 3.5 or 4.
Wow, that's some bold Homer speaking right there, my friend.
No, it's not Homer. You know, if I didn't like it, I wouldn't.
That's completely Homer because there's not a single player on the Jets offense that's as talented as DK Metcalf.
That's true, but
Not
I'm
one.
saying over.
And I don't know that. I mean, Mike White and Geno Smith. You're going to make the call that between the two, Mike White is the Hall of Famer.
I didn't see that.
Cast off.
If you had to take a quarterback right now between Mike White and Geno Smith, which one are you taking?
Salah doesn't even know which quarterback he wants.
Yes, he does. He wants Mike White.
No, he doesn't.
Because Mike White's back and he's taking him. Zach Wilson's not even dressing.
Right. Well, you see, he had Mike White on the roster at the beginning of the year. He had Zach Wilson on the roster at the beginning of the year, who was hurt. And he had Joe Flacco. In the beginning, he said, you know what? I want to go with Flacco.
Yeah, I don't know.
Wilson got healthy, and then he brought Wilson back. And then Wilson got hurt or didn't play well. So, you know what? Now we'll go with Mike. Well, first they went with Flacco again. Then they say, you know what? Well, Flacco didn't do. Let's try Mike White now. So he don't know who he wants, Shawn. It's just one of those things where he's lifting up the shell to see which guy's under there and go, screw it. Let's see what happens with this guy. Maybe they play with a little bit more. They play with a little bit more inspiration. I don't know. I don't know that there's really much. I think the only thing that maybe separates these two teams is that the cornerbacks maybe from the Jets. But outside of that, I think this game is a toss-up, and I think it's going to be decided by a field goal. And quite honestly, I think the edge goes to the home team. I hope I'm wrong for you Jet fans, but I don't think so, because even last week, the Seahawks might have lost pretty handily on a scoreboard. But that was really more a function, I feel like, of bad play calling when they were at 4th and 2nd, 4th and 1. And they didn't take points that were on the field at the time to keep the game closer at the end. So, and then they started to move the ball and scored. So I think there's a little overreaction to how they play. I think they actually played better than they looked like they played last week.
Well, you said about the defense. I will say the Jets, hands down, have the better defense in Seattle. I say if you had to take one unit out of here, Jets offense, Jets defense, Seattle's offense, Seattle's defense, which one are you taking?
I would take the Jets defense. I think would be the best unit there. But I don't know that the Jets offense versus the Seattle defense, if that's not a push.
If the Jets can't take advantage of Seattle's porous defense, basically.
Well, their defense, I don't think is that bad. They're playing better than they were earlier in the year.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
But, so I think that I was kind of surprised to me that, and maybe it is the suckers, but I was kind of surprised that the Seahawks weren't the favorite. When I looked at it, I had to do a double take because, I mean, the Jets aren't. I mean, The Jets just aren't good on offense, even if Mike White's playing quarterback. I'm sorry.
Well, and that's the other thing is Mike White got hurt, and when he got hurt, he came back in that game, and he said they'd have to peel him off the field. He got out. Now he's getting another chance. Guys like this is his chance. If he makes the playoffs with the Jets, this is his chance. If he doesn't do well, this could be right back to a second, third string quarterback. So, I mean, everything's on the line.
Let me ask you,
if you're
a Jets fan, do you really want Mike White to be your starter next year?
I personally do because I love guys like Mike White. I love like the Chad Penningtons of the world. They might not be the most talented people.
But would you want Chad Pennington? I mean, what did Chad Pennington win for you?
I loved when Chad Pennington was quarterback for the Jets. I would take Chad Pennington every day of the week.
Yeah.
I loved it because I don't
know.
always want
as a Cowboys fan, I like Danny White as a quarterback. Put up a lot of stats, but can I tell you something? I would rather have, by a long shot, though, hell, I can't remember the guy's name now, who filled in for Staubach and won the Super Bowl. Got him there anyway. What the hell is his name now? The guy who, Dandy Don Meredith.
Okay.
Yes, indeed. But in any case, nah, dude. I was shocked that the Jets were the favorite here. If I'm a Jets fan, I'm hoping one of two things happens. Because I think they're built to win now with their defense. They have some talent, a little bit of talent. I think they'll be, especially when the running back comes back next year, they'll be more talented on offense. You got to get a legit quarterback in there, and it's just not Mike White. You're not going to win the Super Bowl. Maybe you can get an Aaron Rodgers. I even think Derek Carr would be an upgrade for you guys at quarterback as well, because he understands what he's looking at on the field, which is, to me, the single most important thing a quarterback has to be able to do is see what's in front of him and know what play to make.
I think Derek Carr just makes too many mistakes, though. Too many interceptions, too many fumbles, too many sacks. That's Derek Carr's problem.
Yes, and Mike White's problem is that he's really a practice squad quarterback. All right. This game also is considered to be an under by Jared. What do you think in that?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, Seattle's offense has struggled compared to what they were in the first weeks of the season, and the Jets' defense, like I said, best unit on the field. I guess. I mean, it's kind of right there. Obviously, I didn't touch it. If you tell me I had to go one way, I would go the under.
I wouldn't play that game. If I were going to do anything, I would lean the Seahawks. The Vikings and the Packers. You and I are on the opposite side, so everybody, considering how hot Shawn has been, you want to load up on the Packers and run away from the Vikings, because what's going to inevitably happen here is the Vikings are going to be winning the game outright by 2 points, and then there's going to be a fumble that the Packers defense picks in and runs up for a touchdown right as the clock expired. Just like, what was the guy's name from the Eagles? What was his name? Was Joe Pisarcik?
I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, but I know what you're talking about. So if all that happens, I don't do this much, but I'm turning off my phone because I'm going to get a lot of hated text messages of, how did this happen to me again? And you're on the right side of it.
No. I don't give you. Let's see. Tiny Taco shows at the office of people talking about Barbara Waters died. I'm sorry to hear that. Possible pink slips. Least I'm buzzed. I forgot tomorrow, and my wife is homesick. Oh, that's good. So he's at a party while his wife is homesick. He's buzzed. We told you he was on the bourbon. I didn't know that Barbara Waters had died.
Yeah, I haven't heard that yet neither. Yeah, that would be unfortunate if that happened.
Mm.
Here, I kind of think this is kind of like the Lions game. I'm sure people are shocked that the Vikings are the underdog, but the Packers are playing really good right now. Here's another team. The Packers, they have a good shot to get to the playoffs now. They win.
I think if they win out, they go. I think that's
pretty much. And they need help. They need the Redskins to lose one, but
who are they?
I think that happened.
You just got us to violate Google's terms and conditions, man. Come on, man. Commanders, indeed. So the Vikings and the Packers. I don't know. I agree with you, Shawn, but that the Packers are playing better football right now. And quite frankly, if I'm Terry, I'm terrified of the prospect of the Packers showing up out there in the first week of the playoffs, especially a team that's coming into form. Aaron Jones is a little bit injured. Christian Watson might not play because he's got an injured hammy again. So the merry-go-round at wide receiver could continue. And I feel like if Aaron Jones is not there and Christian Watson's not there, or at least limited in any capacity, they're two of his favorite targets at least 4 around time to score. You take those 2 guys off the field, and maybe it's a little bit more of a struggle for them to put up points. So maybe they win the game, but somehow the Vikings manage to cover.
Yeah, maybe. And Aaron Jones has actually started to run the ball good too, which is a big thing because usually it's catching the balls out of the backfield more. I seen this kind of like the Lions game to where, I mean, the Lions, I think they were favored by a point and a half. So here, if the Packers win a field goal, we just draw. But I really think
your man Jared is trying to really put the jinx on you, Shawn. Mike White, Shawn Jets with Sunday, bank on it. I mean, when you put the bank on it, dude, you want to change that pick now?
He didn't make it official, though.
He said at least bank on it.
No, but he didn't make it official in his
Jared,
pick, so
make it
okay.
official, my man. Make it an official pick. Add it to your roster. Come on, dude. Do it.
No, don't do it. I took the Giants, so maybe I jinxed them for that, too.
Yeah,
so.
we all jinxed each other taking the Panthers somehow. I don't know what is up with that. So that's where we're at in terms of that. I don't know. I just feel like that's going to be a pretty close game. Over here, the Vikings. Oh, God, I'm on the wrong side.
Is that a 3-unit play? 3-unit play.
3-unit play on the Vikings to win on the money line. Oh,
no.
I'm gonna start drinking right now, Shawn.
Get that bourbon so you can see the same way. Well, you're already seeing the same way Jared is. So get that bourbon so you can jump the other way.
Yes, to correct my vision. No beer goggles, no bourbon goggles, right? Yes, indeed. All right, so Shawn, you like the Browns against the Commanders. This pick made me scratch my head because that game last week, it looked bad on paper, but that was really a product of Ron Rivera going for it on 4th down in his own side at the 25-yard line, at the 17-yard line. He basically put it all out on the field and said, "Screw it, we're either going to win this game or we're going to get beat by 20." Because he kept giving the 49ers, the ball almost in the red zone.
Yeah, so basically my thinking here is, I don't know, they're going back to Wentz. I don't think that's a good move by the Commanders. And the Browns are going to play their defense. They're going to run the ball. And Watson's starting to look a little bit better. Now he's a few weeks in.
The Commanders are tough to run on. I mean,
they might be, but again, I talk about this all the time. Even if you got a good run defense, if you got a team that's going to keep pounding, and that's their strength, they will figure out that defense.
McCaffrey's on my fantasy team. He might have scored a late touchdown, but man, he struggled to gain points. I mean, struggled. And usually that running game from Shanahan is one of the better ones in all of the league. So I don't know. I think they're going to really stifle that Browns running game because – first of all, you talk about teams that have motivation and teams don't have motivation. Browns don't play for anything.
They don't, but they haven't the last couple of weeks neither. But they're playing. Wait, let's read Jared's thing here.
He says Seattle secondary sucks. So we're going to see about 18 interceptions by the Seattle secondary this week. Prime spot on the road to win big and go to Miami next week with the playoffs on the line. All right, Jared.
Yeah, I trust me. I hope so. It'd be great to have a last week big game like that. I just think
the only one.
Yeah, going back
to the Titans and the Jaguars. That might because if things break the right way this week, just about everything could be settled when the week is over. Week 18 could prove to be almost meaningless.
But that will never happen because the NFL is just wild, and things will happen wild this week to make that happen.
Well, wouldn't it be wild if Week 18 meant nothing after they went through all of this stuff to get to an 18-week schedule?
Yeah. Well, they'll have the Titans and Jaguars, and that will be your Sunday night game, and that will be the only one.
Right.
That's possible. Here, though, I just think going back to Wentz is not a good move, and I think the Browns will just play their style, and Commanders have the pressure on them to win. They got to win this game. And I see this being the upset here.
I think the Commanders are the better team. And if you talked about which side of the ball you want to be on, I think the Commanders have a little bit better defense. Maybe Deshaun Watson is coming alive, but I'm not so convinced of that. I don't think he looks that good yet. I think maybe next year will be the test to see if that $250 million in the face of the franchise was a good investment when he gets a full offseason. He's had this third of a season to work with the team and get his bearings. Next year will be the answer to that Deshaun Watson question. The Jaguars and the Texans. I'm kind of surprised I'm the only one taking the Jaguars here. But then again, I saw Scott Van Pelt say on ESPN that he's he's 12-3 on the NFL year. What do they make? One pick a week?
Yes, maybe that's his best bet or something.
Well, it's his bet for the whole year. He was 12-3. I said, okay, fine. You made 15 bets. All right, that's cool. But his bet this week, he didn't even know who they were playing. They said Houston versus anybody. So I think, the Jaguars don't really have anything to play for. But if you are the Jaguars, you do still have something to play for, because if you win this game and things break your way and you don't beat Tennessee, you could still be the wild card team.
Yeah, that's a big time long shot, but I understand what you're saying. I also think if you're Jacksonville, we talk about this, but a lot of coaches probably don't believe it, but you should stay in rhythm. That offense is clicking. So I would want to keep Lawrence going and stuff like that. So I agree with you on all of that. My hesitation was the Texans have played good teams the last 3 weeks. They've won one of them, and the other two, they were right there to win it. Since they've gone back to Davis Mills, they have played really good football for the Texans. So that's where my scare was.
And they're on the road. I mean, Jacksonville and Houston.
I do think Jacksonville will be motivated, but at the same time, they're not going to risk anything here. They got to make sure that they're ready to go.
I think if you're the Jaguars, you have to win this game, because there's no guarantee you're going to win next week, right? And much like we talk about when you get your foot on the throat, I think you have to open up as many possibilities as available to you to get into the playoffs. If you lose this game, your only way in is to win next week. If you win this game, as slight as that option may be, like you said, the NFL's wild. Anything can happen. And, you win this game and then you go around and lose next week to Tennessee, you still have that slight window to get in. So I don't think they're going to lay down at all. I think they're going to come out, and I think more than anything, they want to make sure that blade is as sharp as it can be for that big game at home, Week 18, Tennessee.
Yeah, there was too many variables for me on what Jacksonville would do.
Plus, if you're the Texans, one other thing, man, right? You're the Texans. You win this game and Chicago loses out. Guess what? You're the second pick in the draft.
Yeah, but the players and coaches, they're playing for jobs. I really don't.
I think at this point in time, Shawn, that cast is set, man. I mean, all their jobs are going to be any better shape because they won they won 2 games instead of 1.
Okay, if you're Davis Mills, you're not putting more good stuff on the film because you're not going to be Houston's quarterback probably next year. So you want to put as much good stuff.
I think all that's already on tape, though, Shawn, to be honest. I'm not saying that the players are going to tank, but you talk about a team, at least an organization that's not motivated to win. And I don't know if there's a standout quarterback this year's college football draft. From what I read, that doesn't seem like this is the best class of college football quarterbacks. But nonetheless, I still think you want to have that pick because at the very minimum, if somebody's looking for a quarterback and you're not necessarily sold on one, it's a lot of draft capital.
Yeah, I don't know. I understand taking the Jaguars, but I'm just worried about how the Texans are playing.
Well, I think they're certainly not playing as well as the Jaguars are playing. Hopefully, no. But again, I'm sliding though. I'm going down the hill faster than some of those people you see. I don't know if you saw that new slide that they opened up somewhere in the summertime. It's like 5 stories high, and people were coming down, and there's like little bumps in it, and they were flying off the bump and getting injured. So that's kind of how my last couple of weeks have been. I'm going down that slide, bumping off, and getting injured. All right, the last game that any of us have anything on is I have the Ravens. They just beat the Steelers a couple of weeks ago. I know the game was close and a couple of things, but that was in Pittsburgh. This one is in Baltimore. I think you're likely to see, not this week, but next week, I think there's probably a shot that you're going to see Lamar Jackson. So this is a game the Ravens have to win. They're only laying 2 points. They're at home. And like I think minus that last drive, last week against Las Vegas, you saw what Kenny Pickett kind of really looks like at times in college, and they got some tape on him now, and that team against a mediocre defense really struggled at home to put up points. I think they're going to find it difficult to score against the Ravens too.
Yeah, I almost went here. The Ravens at home only got to win by a field goal, and like you said, they just won in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh seems to like you said, with Pickett not looking just as good. Ravens quarterbacks had a few weeks now without Jackson. I almost did it. I stayed off it because I believe the last time they met, you had the Ravens, I had the Steelers, and you won it, I lost it. But you know how that is. You go back. Now I try to make up for it to take the Ravens, and it happens the other way. So it was just too much going against me. I left it go. But if I had to go one side, I agree with you on this one.
Yeah, I just think the Steelers' offense is not in a good place, right? And also, it's pretty much been written that they're going to fire their offensive coordinator. So I don't know if that means he's going to be conservative or if that means he's going to be overly aggressive. And which I think if they're overly aggressive, that would open the door for Pickett to make more mistakes.
Yeah, and they still have a shot at the division title too. I mean, Pittsburgh still has an outside shot at the playoffs, but Baltimore has a shot at the division yet, and Cincinnati playing on Monday night against Buffalo. There'll be plenty of motivation there.
There'll be plenty of motivation, hopefully, for me, too, because it's the finals of the fantasy football, and I have Josh Allen, and the other guy I'm playing is done. Well, no, he has Dawson Knox, the tight end, but he won't score as many points as Josh Allen does. So, for all you folks out there in your fantasy football finals, certainly hope that every one of you wins all of your games, unless the players you have are the most. But Dak Prescott last night didn't have the strongest of game, and that was the quarterback I'm going against. So hopefully I can pull out a W and have one good thing that ends this week in terms of football. All right, Shawn, tomorrow, like I said, I'll be back with Charles for Gulfstream Park picks. You're going to return next week who are you going to be with, Jamie or Julie?
I will be with Jamie next week.
And then you got a list of who your guests might be yet?
Yeah, on Monday we have jockey Sophia Vive. She showed up at Woodbine in November, did great. 16 starts, she had 4 wins, 3 seconds, and then she stopped because she didn't want to lose her apprenticeship, so she'll start again next year. But she put a good name in herself right away. And then Tuesday we had Hannah Leah on. You and I had her on before. She was a fun guest. Mm-hmm. And then Wednesday, another one, I believe it was you and I who had on Electra Boone. She's done a lot of things in the business as well.
Indeed. So a little earlier when we started the show, Shawn, I was talking about Charles. And Charles looking like the guy from the Muppets, right? Yeah. And so he was chiming in. All right, so let's take a look at this guys right here. These are the guys from the Muppets. And this is a YouTube channel, so I can't open it up necessarily. But this guy right here, tell me that's not Charles.
There you go.
Is that Charles or what?
Now you need to have the side by side. You need to work on the side by side on this.
Yes, and I'm going to put the side by side. But there's Charles right there, my man. Indeed,
do the side by side while Charles is on tomorrow.
Yeah, I should do that. You know what I'll do is I'll bring him up as a third person on the show. Indeed. It's a good idea, Shawn. I'm going to bring him up. So here's Charles in the peanut gallery. All right. And then Monday, Terry and I will be back, provided that they have the parks track, whatever problems there corrected. We'll do parks. If not, if they're still closed, we'll figure out what else to do. And we'll continue on with our $100 challenge where we go with the $100 to the track and how we would bet $100. So if you're a $100 better, pay in. Pay attention. We have some of suggested wagers, and then we do that every single day, Shawn. Any final thoughts before we get out of here and head off to NFL? Well, tomorrow you got those 2 college games. So what are your thoughts there?
It's hard to bet on them. The lines, 7.5, 6.5. Honestly, I'm rooting for TCU to beat Michigan. TCU's the underdog story. I'd love to see TCU win it.
Ain't gonna happen.
It's gonna be tough. The 7.5 though. 7.5 though, I probably would take. If you're gonna tell me, I take TCU plus the 7.5. The other game, Ohio State, Georgia.
That conference is junk.
Ohio State, Georgia. Again, I'm gonna root for the underdog. I'm gonna root for Ohio State, but I think they're in tough there. Georgia's
the thing is,
tough.
a lot of folks like Ohio State. I've seen a lot of prognosticators saying that Georgia might not be ready for what they're about to get.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if tomorrow's college football playoffs are anything like these bowl games, they've just been wild and great entertainment. So hopefully we have games like that and not blowouts, and they'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, indeed. I think it's probably Georgia, Michigan in the finals. That's the way I see it. I think of the 2 games, I think the disparity between Michigan and TCU is bigger than the disparity between Georgia and Ohio State. I would expect that they're going to have a very difficult time trying to have a quarterback from TCU who tries to do everything. He is the everything for them. and he's going to, what's his name, Duggard? I think he's going to have a rough game in terms of he's going to get hit a lot by a lot of NFL-esque players. So I think it's going to be – I mean, the truth is that Michigan has more NFLers on their team than TCU does. And usually the team that has more NFL players does better in these situations, in my opinion.
Yeah, but TCU's been the underdog all year, and they've been getting it done. So
that conference is no good. Oklahoma State, right? They were undefeated through 7-8 games. They were ranked like 6th at one point in time. They got basically their ass handed to them from a middle of the road Wisconsin team. I know they only lost by 7, but they were getting dominated until the middle of the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and ever since their quarterback Sanders went out, they have not been the same team. Even when he started coming back, they weren't the same team. So they were just on a downward spiral this whole time. But I'm going to be rooting for TCU, but I don't know what's to happen. I hope one
They're going to get run over is what's going to happen, Shawn.
I hope one of the underdog wins because Georgia and Michigan.
I think if you're going to get an underdog, it'll be Ohio State. But I think it's going to go – you're going to get Georgia. You're going to get Michigan in the finals.
And I'll tell you what else, too. If it's Michigan, Ohio State, like I'm not a fan of either team, but their games are fun to watch. And for that to be the national championship would be great for college football.
It would be horrible for Michigan or Ohio State fans because one of them has to lose, right?
Yeah,
and no
one of
matter
them lose
what happens, Michigan could lose 1,000 times in a row to Ohio State afterwards, but it'll be the year 3022. And the Michigan fans will be saying, but we beat you in the BCS game, right? 1,000 years ago. You've beat us every game since, but the one that mattered, we won. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be an Ohio State or Michigan fan if that were the case indeed. All right, Shawn. That wraps it up. Folks, thanks for joining us tonight. If you like what you saw, kindly hit the subscribe button. Tell your friends. Make sure that you fade my picks, fade Jared's picks. Go ahead and load up on Shawn. He's been the hot hand to ride. And we'll see how that plays out in week number 17. Hard to believe we'll be back next week for the final week of this NFL season. And, of course, we'll cover the playoffs as they go all the way through the Super Bowl. Looking forward to that. We might even do the All-Star game, the Pro Bowl flag football game. Doubtful.
Yeah, I was going to say different format with that. Jeez.
Yeah. Maybe we could play. Maybe that's just like they do in the NBA. Like, in the NBA, the day before the All-Star game, they have like
the celebrities,
folk stars play with them. Yeah, so maybe they should just turn the NFL All-Star game into that sort of thing.
If we're a celebrity by the Pro Bowl, let's do it.
Yeah, you and I out there. Maybe when I was 27, but not. I'd be done. I would be like, I don't know, who is the guy who's one of those football players that's constantly pulling a hamstring? That would be me. I'd be like Kadavius Thomas. Hamstring would be bling, bling, 2 seconds.
Yeah, apparently that's a celebration now that a lot of receivers do. I don't understand it. They fake like they're hamstring. I don't get that celebration.
Or robbing houses. I don't get that one either. Yeah. Right? It's not like the NFL doesn't have it. At times a problem with a little bit of trouble in the offseason and the regular season with some of their players. I think if I am Roger Goodell, the last thing I want to see my players doing in football celebrations is pretending that they're robbing a house or a bank as a celebration. I'd be on the phone real quick going, we're going to cut that one out.
Yeah, all the fines. I think you should fine those players for that.
That's not the image we really want to send. All right, folks, have a great evening. Again, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Horse Race, the number 2 day. Shawn over here does a fantastic job keeping people entertained and informed. And then at the same time, subscribe to YouTube, catch us up for our horse racing shows. We'll see if we can pick some more winners there. Till then, hopefully all of your picks, maybe mine finally this week, at least 1 or 2 of them can end up in the
end zone.
Absolutely. Let's spike that ball.